Hello, everybody. Welcome to the National Book Festival. So great to see a packed house. I'm used to a packed house, and I appreciate your patronage. The National Library Service. We are for the blind and print disabled at the Library of Congress. We've been around since 1931, providing readable content for those people who can't easily read the printed word. So I'm really happy to talk about myself. So, this is a picture of me. I'm the deputy director of NLS. I'm wearing a white tuxedo jacket, and I'm wearing some snazzy shades. This is my official promo photo that we use. I've been at the library for 31 years, and I've been in this position for 8 years at NLS. It's the best position I've ever had at the library. This particular picture has been said, I'm either the new James Bond or the new James Bond villain. I prefer to be the villain, but this is me. So what is NLS? Once again, NLS is a service for the blind and print disabled. Free audiobook and braille library service for people with temporary or permanent low vision blindness or a physical, perceptual, or reading disability that prevents them from using regular print material. So this is temporary or permanent blindness, low vision, a reading disability like dyslexia. You get in an accident and you can't hold a book. You have a stroke. You have some sort of horrible something happens to you and you can't hold a book, turn a page. We are a free library service for you. So, we were formed in 1931, and we provided accessible reading materials since then. So what started as a service for blind adults, particularly veterans, this service was created because after World War I, the government found that there were a lot of veterans who were blinded during the war, and they had no way to read. And so we thought about, hey, a national library service for those people who can't read the printed word. So what started for veterans and adults has expanded to serve all Americans who are blind, have low vision, et cetera, et cetera. So we serve everybody now. So we offer books and magazines and audio and braille instantly downloaded to your smart device through a service called BARD, Braille and Audio Reading Download. I'll talk about that in a bit. It's a mobile app. It's a website. It's a Windows application. It works on iPhones. It works on Android. Very, very easy. If you have a device, you can download material immediately as long as you're a patron. And residents anywhere in the United States or its territories or U.S. citizens abroad. So we have patrons in Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands, Guam, the North Mariana Islands, et cetera, along with American citizens, American residents that live overseas, such as people that work in embassies, the State Department, expats, et cetera, et cetera. You're eligible for this service. All right, so how does it work? So through a network of 90-plus cooperating libraries, NLS circulates accessible reading materials and audio and braille equipment. So NLS is located at the Library of Congress here in Washington, D.C., but we have a network of over 90 cooperating network libraries, at least one in every single state and U.S. territory. So it's a decentralized service. In other words, if you're from Nebraska, you would contact your Nebraska Braille and Talking Book Library and get service through them. If you're in California, Florida, et cetera, et cetera. NLS, here in Washington, we provide the content, we provide the devices, the products and services. We call it your local network library is the one that you would interact with. They would be providing reader advisory services. They would be providing the equipment to you. This is a relationship that's gone on since 1931. Can you imagine today trying to write an agreement that the federal government and every single state government agrees to? It's impossible, right? 1931, we were able to do it, and we've been able to maintain it ever since. And so it really is an anomaly, and we're really, really proud of working with all the states and territories so that we can support all patrons in our nation. 2024, we circulated more than 22 million materials to nearly 220,000 patrons. 22 million patrons. So what's that? Something like 100 items? 1,000 items? My math's terrible. It's a lot. 22 million items circulated in either audio or braille. We're really proud of that. In the upper right-hand corner is our audio book player. We call it the DA2. The original version was called the Digital Talking Book Machine. It's cartridge-based, and so the books and magazines, this is a USB cartridge that slides into the device. The device is very, very easy to use with the various buttons, etc. It also has a Wi-Fi modem and Bluetooth, so you can connect to the Bard service if you don't want to wait for cartridges in the mail. And you work with your network library and your reader advisors to choose what content you want. They put it on a cartridge, they mail it to you, you read, you send the cartridge back, and that's how we provide the service for those people who don't have a smartphone and who don't have a computer and maybe don't have broadband access as well. So that is for audio materials. And the bottom right-hand corner is a Braille e-reader. We provide these as well. We got money from Congress, thank God, to purchase these and supply these for people who can read Braille, who don't want hard copy Braille, embossed Braille. Think about some long book, let's say War and Peace. You know how large and thick that book is? If that were done in hard copy Braille, it would fill up this room. I mean, I'm exaggerating, but it would fill up half the room. Braille is much larger. An e-Braille file for War and Peace, 10K, something like that. You can fit like 100,000 titles in the memory on this Braille e-reader. And so you can carry around your own library. This also connects to Bard, and you can download material that way. So, the origin story. Here we go. Late 1800s, libraries across the United States began offering service for the blind, but there wasn't any kind of uniformity to it. There were no standards, and access varied depending on where you were and honestly how much money you had. In 1897, the Librarian of Congress at the time, John Russell Young, he established a reading room for the blind and the concept of a national library service. Reading room for the blind, great idea, but all the materials were in Washington, D.C. in this one room in the Jefferson Building of the Library of Congress on Capitol Hill. What about people all over the country? They would have to come to Washington, D.C. to read these materials. It's a great idea and a great start for people who are local. It's not really a national service. So what could we do about that? 1913, the Library of Congress started to expand its Braille offerings and really start thinking about, we have users and patrons out there, Americans, that can't read the printed word. How are we going to provide library service to them? In 1931, Congress passed the Pratt-Smoot Act, which gave the library authorization and an appropriation. It was $100,000 back in 1931. A lot of money back then. Not so much money now, but $100,000 started out our appropriation, and we started to coordinate this national library service for Braille. No audio yet, just Braille books. So in addition to Braille, we start offering audiobooks in 1930s, and this is what's cool. Because of NLS, the first audiobook was created, and it was created on an LP record. Now, some of you, you're as old as I am. You know what a vinyl LP record is. Some of the youngsters may not. Anyway, records were the original audiobooks, okay? It wasn't just for music. Music back then were on 78 RPM records, which was about a 10-inch record. And they were very, very heavy, and if you dropped them, they would break. The LP, the 12-inch LP, was actually created to be an audiobook because it had more capacity and you could fit more words, more speech on each side. And so that became the first audiobook. So that was, we started with hard copy Braille, then we moved on to audiobooks. People had turntables. And I'll tell you, we started giving out turntables to people, loaning the equipment for those who couldn't afford a turntable. But you can see some of the first audiobooks that were ever recorded, things like the Constitution, As You Like It, and Kipling's Brushwood Boy. And you can see over there on the right-hand side, these are some of the original turntables that were given out for NLS. I think it was in the 40s, John? We started giving out NLS? Okay, next slide. Okay, so the early audiobook. Here is Thomas Edison. I think we all know who he is, and we're obviously here because of him. In his patent application for the phonograph, he listed recorded books for the blind as a possible use. He's trying to get his patent. He's trying to justify how to create or why we need a phonograph. The sheer number of records needed for one book made the concept unfeasible. Once again, records were 78 RPM. They went very, very quickly. They just simply could not put a book, something long amount of material onto a record. So in 1933, 50 years after Edison put in his patent, it was the American Foundation for the Blind actually working with NLS to develop a record. 150 grooves, 50% more than earlier. This allowed for a book of 60,000 words to be on 8 or 9 double-faced 12-inch records, and the audio book was officially born. So you can imagine you're at home and you have a turntable there, and your mailman shows up with these large LPs, and it's like, okay, this is the Constitution of the United States. Read away, and you listen to side A, and you flip it over, and take the next record and everything. That's how people read. These were the first audiobooks. I mean, imagine now, this is just technology we all take for granted. These were on LPs before, so 9 records for one book in general. And then after you read them, you would send them back in the mail and wait for your next batch of records. So, that's how people read audiobooks. So after the initial success, Congress appropriated more money for the purchase of records in 1934. President Roosevelt initiated the production of turntables for the blind. That's what I was getting at. And by 1940, 20,000 turntables were in circulation, and the Library of Congress started loaning machines in 1947. So we have some of these machines on display in my office. These things are heavy. These things are beasts. You could drop them from a second floor. Don't do it. You could drop them from a second floor and they'll still be playing your records. And they're some of them are really nicely ornate, like Art Deco. I mean, really, really nice, cool turntables. And hey, I'm blind and I'm part of the NLS service. Send me a turntable in the mail. And this behemoth box shows up. And then all my records show up. And there I am. I'm reading away. So this was like really high-tech technology because music, of course, was exploding. And now we have audiobooks also exploding. So, as with today, authors would often narrate their own works, including Eleanor Roosevelt, who narrated the first chapter of This Is My Story while she was First Lady. So we still have that today. A lot of authors still narrate their own books. They tend to know the characters very well, and if they actually are good orators, they can do a good job. But narration, really, really started taking off as well. And to this day, we work with narrators on site at the Library of Congress. We also have narrators that we contract with. These are voice actors and other types of theatrical people. And all around the country, we work with narrators at the network libraries who are narrating books all the time. So we're really, really excited because of radio. Narration as a profession was booming. So here you go. You've got audiobooks, you've got narration, you've got radio, technology taking off, and all of a sudden these people who weren't able to read are able to read. Growth and refinement. Since the early days of the audiobook, NLS and its patrons have worked to grow the program and optimize recording, distribution, and services for patrons, creating lightweight playback machines. That gets to my joke about the turntable showing up. It's as heavy as your Toyota in the driveway. Now we have machines, playback machines that are very, very lightweight. In fact, the NLS table is behind here, maybe about 1,000 feet. My colleague John and others from my team can show you some of these machines and how cool they are, how lightweight they are, and how easy it is to read now if you're a part of the program. We went through various different formats, cassettes, and now we're up to digital. We skipped compact discs, thank God, because now all of our compact discs that we bought in the 80s, they're all deteriorating. So we didn't invest in compact discs. Thank you very much. Standardizing narration, using both commercial narrators and our in-house media lab. We have standards and guidelines for how to narrate. As great as an orator as I am and how mesmerized you are by my voice and my charisma, I may not be the best person to narrate particular books. These people do. We work with professionals to make your reading experience the best it could be. And the cool thing is, and we'll see in another slide, we added music. I believe it was it 66? 70? I don't know. I keep looking at John because he put this presentation together for me. This is John, everybody. Give him a big hand. He's very shy. I'm not, by the way. Anyway, we have the largest collection of accessible music material in the world. Braille music scores, Braille and audio versions of music theory, how to play the piano, how to play the guitar. You can't even imagine how many people out there potential musicians were left out because there was no way for them to learn how to play an instrument. There was no way for them to study music theory. There were no scores. They couldn't play anything because there was no such thing as a Braille music score. We've got the largest collection in the world. We're very, very proud of that. All right, so this is getting to the thing about expanding the groups. We started with adults, mainly concentrating on veterans in the 30s. 1952, children became eligible, which of course is fantastic because all of us want to get our children to start reading and become lifelong learners. You start them very, very early. You introduce them to reading. You introduce them to libraries, and hopefully they use that their entire lives. Physical disabilities were granted in 1966. I can't remember when music was, but it was maybe sometime in the 70s. And the regulatory language was changed in 2021 to make it easier for those with the reading disabilities. This is really important because even though we have National Library Service for the Blind in our name, there are so many people out there that have a reading disability that would be eligible for this service. They're just not aware of it, or they don't think they're eligible because, like, well, I can see. Well, dyslexia or any kind of reading disability, you are eligible for this service. So I know that each and every one of you out there, you have someone in your family or a friend or someone that you know who could benefit from this service. So I ask you, please be an ambassador and let them know this is a free service. Let them know if they want to apply and they want to start reading, and hopefully it's easier for them through our service. Please, let's sign them up. All right, once again, audiobooks. We have a media lab. We record about 100 audiobooks each year in the media lab here on Capitol Hill. As I said, we've got narrators all over the country doing stuff. But what we do is, because we get a lot of commercial audiobooks, because most of the commercial publishers make audiobooks, we take them and we put them through our NLS machine and we turn them into an NLS talking book. So an audiobook becomes a talking book, and a talking book will work with our equipment. It has markers and better, easier ways to navigate than your commercial audiobook. So we do a lot of those things, but there are a lot of things that the commercial publishers don't want to do. Something like a cookbook. They're not going to make like a Braille or an audio version of a cookbook. A lot of our patrons want cookbooks. So that's what we try to concentrate on, things that the commercial publishers don't do, whatever those gaps are. Crafting books, classics. You know, they make, let's say the SAT or the LSAT. They make those tests in Braille, but they don't make the prep in Braille. So how do you prep for it? So anyway, we've tried to fill those gaps, try to find these things where the commercial publishers don't do. We also were the first service to make the Dungeons & Dragons game books accessible. And that was really, really cool because I was a D&D player when I was a kid. And by kid, I mean 2 weeks ago. So the cool thing is we have worked around the country with narrators and voice actors to standardize and provide guides for pronunciation of famous figures and brands, which makes it more consistent with materials. Audiobook evolution, as I mentioned, we launched Bard. That's Braille and audio reading download. This is an extremely easy mobile app. You can get it on your iPhone, on your Android phone, on your Fire OS tablet. It's also a website if you just want to download books to your computer. We also have a Windows PC app called Bard Express. But anyway, this is the easiest way for folks who already have an iPhone or a smart device, folks who are confident and comfortable working the technology. We know that there are a lot of older folks that just don't have their own device. Sadly, there are a lot of people in the United States that don't even have broadband or cellular access. But this is kind of our ideal situation because this way you can start searching for books, downloading books, and reading books immediately. You don't have to wait for anything in the mail. You don't have to talk to a librarian if you don't want to. You just search and you're off and reading immediately. Continue to advance the audiobook players. As I mentioned, this is called the DA2. The original one was called DTBM, Digital Talking Book Machine. We call this the DA2. As I said, it's got enhanced features from the first generation. I think it was launched about 13 or 14 years ago. We're launching this one this year. This has Wi-Fi. It's got Braille buttons, Bluetooth connectivity. You can download stuff. It's got 28 gigs of internal storage. Only weighs 2.5 pounds. If you want to take a look at one of these, once again, the NLS table's over there, and one of my folks will give a demonstration. But I said this is a long way from a 50-pound turntable delivered to you by your poor mail carrier. So this is going to conclude it. Our vision statement is that all may read. 4 words. That's the easiest, least controversial vision statement that I've ever seen. That all may read. That's our mission. We need to make sure that anybody and everybody can read, regardless of what may be holding you back. This is the website, loc.gov/NLS. I ask you, please check it out. I know that you know somebody. I know you know somebody in your family or your neighborhood or anything who would benefit from this service, and they probably just don't know about it. loc.gov/NLS, and here are 3 photographs. Here's a woman using a Braille e-reader and reading on Braille. Here's a gentleman in the middle listening to an audiobook on his iPhone via Bard, our mobile app, and here's a gentleman using the old digital talking book machine using a cartridge. So that concludes this presentation. I would love to take any questions since I still have a few minutes. Thank you. Thank you very much. Does anybody have any questions? Please raise your hand.
I think you already said this. How many users do you have of the system?
Right now we have about 220,000 users. Those are active users. Okay? We're always trying to do patron growth. We know that there are millions of Americans who could benefit from the service, and we want to reach them somehow. So all of you now, you've all been dubbed NLS ambassadors. Go back and spread the word about this free service.
Can you talk about the certifying authority? Who can you go to get certified for this amazing service?
So I did not plant this woman in the audience. That's a fantastic question. So a lot of people think this is harder than it needs to be. Obviously, if you are blind or low vision or something, you have a doctor or a GP or someone that can certify that you have this disability. That's all it takes. If you have a reading disability or a physical disability, you can also, of course, go to an ophthalmologist, a doctor, anything like that. But we made it much easier than that. A social worker, a teacher, a librarian, anybody that has the authority to look at you. I'm saying it wrong, but we made it a lot easier. So if a teacher says this young boy, this 10-year-old boy has dyslexia, and I will sign the certification, that child is now signed up. So it's not as hard as a lot of people think. And so we're trying to spread the word about that as well. Good question. Thank you.
Have you ever done graphic novels?
We have done graphic novels. We just did Mouse, which is one of the most famous graphic novels. Let me tell you, that is really hard for a narrator to turn into an audio version of something so visual. And I said that goes to the talent of the actors, the voice actors that we work with. I saw them working on Mouse, and they worked on it for a long time, and they, as usual, they look frame by frame, panel by panel. Absolutely amazing. Now, something like that takes a long time, and we would love to do more, and we'd love to have more capacity, but we try to go for, you know, the more popular, the most popular graphic novels, but absolutely.
How do you select your books? And are the books, like, are you 1 year behind the newest publications, or a couple of months, or it depends on the book?
It's a very good question. The question is, how do we select our books? So we follow a collection development policy. We are a library, and every library has a collection development policy. We work with all of our network libraries on their collection development policy, so it aligns as best as possible. We are a general library. We are basically supposed to be like a national public library for folks who can't read the printed word. So it's a general library. So we try to have all types of subjects. A lot of it started with recreational reading, believe it or not, two of our most popular genres are westerns, because we have a lot of older folks who love, like Zane Grey, those kind of westerns. I never read them, but cool. We have so many westerns. The other ones, I love this one, Amish romance. Now, Amish romance is when basically a couple is courting each other, and by the very, very last chapter, they get to hold hands at the very end. I'm not kidding. These are so popular, you can't believe it. These are they're not even G-rated romances. Whatever is even more juvenile than that. People love them. So, of course, when we get suggestions from patrons and network libraries, we try to give people what they want. But in general, we try to follow a public library, general library. Now, your next question about how close are we in our, once again, we only have so many resources. When we get a commercial book, we can turn that around pretty quickly. Obviously, popular novels, we want quickly. Other things, it takes more time, such as the graphic novel that I was talking about. That's going to take a lot more time. Cookbook, something like that's going to take a lot of time. We do not censor. We are the Library of Congress. We do not censor books. In case you didn't hear me, we do not censor books.
Yay.
This is the National Book Festival. Yes, ma'am.
Yay. Do you have materials for as young as 5 years old?
We do have children's books, absolutely. We have a large collection of children's books, and we have something that I love. It's called Print Braille, and we have examples here. Print Braille is a printed book, a children's book that, of course, is very, very graphic, like any other children's book, but it also has a Braille layer, a clear page of Braille on it. So let's say I'm sighted, but my son is blind. I can read that book to him, or the other way around. He's sighted and I'm blind. He can read the book to me. So it's a really cool, it's only been going on maybe the past 10 years or something, but we do have a large children's collection, yes.
Do you have any provisions for newspapers and magazines?
We absolutely do. So we have quite a few magazines that we do ourselves, and they are, you can have subscriptions, and you can get them on audio. You can download them from Bard. We try to turn those around as soon as possible. We also have something called NFB Newsline. NFB is the National Federation of the Blind, and we contract with them, and they provide a service called Newsline, which is a telephone audio service where you can call up, you can go through a telephone maze and choose whatever periodical, newspaper, magazine you want, and it'll read it to you over the phone. And so that is one of the requirements that we have in our appropriation, that we provide newspaper and magazine service. So, good question. I see a hand up back there, George.
Hi, I know in the past you said you used formats like vinyl and cassette tapes. Did you ever try any other types of media formats that maybe didn't work out, or like 8-tracks or something?
I wish we had done 8-tracks. Wouldn't that have been cool? No. I think these things were considered, of course. New formats came up, but it seemed that the cassette, once we decided the cassette, that was going to rule the day until we went digital. As I said, compact discs, this is before my time. I've only been at NLS for 8 years. But I understand that compact discs were seriously considered, and they were deemed too expensive, believe it or not. And I think the right choice was made. As I said, CDs are now deteriorating, especially ones that were made in the 80s and the 90s. So we waited, we did cassettes until we got the digital. So now our material that comes on the cartridge, digital audio files and Braille files on a USB drive, or of course downloaded files from Bard. So, but 8-tracks, I like that. Anything else? Got a couple hands up. And this will be, let's do one more question, please.
Other than being ambassadors to our friends and neighbors, how can the public support your work?
How can the public support our work? Well, I would say awareness. Once again, we know that there are millions of Americans that would benefit from this service. They just don't know about it. You know, sadly, a lot of government services you just don't know about. Amazon, Audible is out there, Libby, Bookshare, a lot of other things for the blind, and they're not competitors of ours. We consider them complementary services. We want people to read. That is the goal. If you want to use Audible or Libby or Bookshare, great, but at least become an NLS member. It's free, and see what's in the NLS collection first. If you can't find it there, then you can go somewhere else. So as I said, I ask, all of you are ambassadors now. I have dubbed you all ambassadors of NLS. Please go out, tell people about this, because I said, I know you know at least one person, and that's the way these things, that's the best marketing and outreach possible. So I'm going to wrap up right now. One last question I'm going to ask you. So, am I the new James Bond or the new James Bond villain? Which one? Villain! Thank you. Good night.